Morgan, it's been a while, man. How you doing?
It has. What was it? The long road last
It was
time?
the long road, yeah, yeah. That's
It feels like a billion years ago, doesn't
it
it?
feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? What a crazy
I
year.
have, I have so many fond memories of that day, though.
Yeah,
I have like very fond memories of the weather, like the
yeah.
setting, and then there's a few like really specific moments during the set that I remember as well. I think there's a couple of photos that are like in my brain from that.
Yeah.
So that's a. I mean, if that's a last memory, that's a good one.
I
Um,
feel like you've had a pretty good experience of the outdoor festival scene here in Britain because you've done Buckle and Boots and
yeah,
Long Road as well. It's you've kind of really delved into the festival market here, which has been really good for you.
yeah, man. How have you been?
Not too bad. I mean, just cracking on as best as I can, really. It's been difficult for us all, hasn't it? But yeah, keeping busy and
Yeah.
doing what I do. But it's yeah, it's good to speak to people like you and get the opportunity to Zoom, which we never would have done in the past. So
Yeah, totally.
it's good to have the access to people like yourself. And I appreciate you doing this today and taking the time to have a chat, man. It's always good to see you.
Of course, you too.
But yeah, so just looking back on last year, like I say, it's been a frustrating one for all of us. But as someone like you who just lives to perform live,
Mm.
how has the last year been? Because I guess you've been, stuck for anything to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super weird, dude. I mean, everyone we know has experienced it at some level. It's like some days you wake up and you're like, it's all good, it's all good, and then some days you wake up and you're like, what is happening? you
Yeah,
know. And at the same time, it's also hard to complain because there's so many people that have it so much worse than we do. So, yeah, just a balance of all those emotions. But I was talking to Matt from Old Dominion about this the other day, and he's pretty similar. Like we both love writing songs, and he's obviously a very accomplished songwriter. But we both wrote our first songs to go play them live. Like that was the reason we wrote the first songs, and having that taken away definitely feels like a big chunk of my life just taken away. So yeah, it's been sort of an evolving challenge.
yeah. So what have you been doing to keep yourself busy? Have you been doing some of the Zoom writing thing that some people have delved into?
Yeah, man. I went like was it March last year that
Yeah,
everyone was kind of like, okay, this is a thing, and I went hard on Zoom writing, which is basically like this, whether it's one or two, or I've even done some Zoom writes where there's four of us on on the screen, which is it's really fun, and you can get good stuff out of it. I feel like it does suck a lot of the sort of spontaneity and to me again, maybe that's to do with the live element of music for me, but that spontaneity is a lot of where the magic comes from of like, oh, what did you do just then, but there's that
yeah,
slightest delay on Zoom that sort of takes that away. But I've had some great times doing that. I will say I don't think you can do it as much. It kind of like burns you out
mm.
quicker brain wise or something. But man, I think I wrote more songs last year than I wrote in the 3 years combined previous to that. So,
Wow, that's
so
crazy.
the extra time certainly hasn't gone to waste. But yeah, I've kind of missed the balance.
Yeah, and you moved into a new place a few months back, didn't you?
Yeah, this is it, man. This is the what will be the studio. I guess it's like sort of in working order, but not like completed. But yeah, we were in an apartment at the start of the year, which worked really well for Kelsey and I because we were away all the time. We'd probably be there 2 or 3 nights a week, but then sort of after three months of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the
Yeah.
two of us in this one little apartment, we decided to sort of move on, and like that's a great thing that's happened. We love this place, and it's nice to have some space like this to make music in as well. And yeah, man, again, just trying to take the positives out of it.
Mm, nice one. Well, the guys at Apple Music got in touch because they wanted me to speak about the show that you've been doing, the Countrywide radio show.
Mm.
So tell us a little bit about how that project came together and why it felt like a good opportunity for you, because I feel like you're just suited to something like that. It's perfect for you.
Yeah, oh, thanks, man. Well, yeah, I guess it was at the start of last year that Apple Music reached out and they were talking about like really doing something focused on country music on a worldwide kind of Apple Music stage, and
Mm.
they were like, "We would love for you to do a show," and I was like, "Cool." like, what? And they said, whatever you want. And so I feel like maybe like what I can bring, especially to the Nashville community here, is a truly international perspective. You know, obviously I'm from Australia and spend a lot of time, well, not the last year and a half, but going back and forth prior to that. And I've obviously really made it a priority to get over to the UK, as we were talking about before, to play, like whether it's Buckle and Boots or Long Road or C2C. And we even took like my own world tour over there. Did like Ireland and Scotland as well, and a couple of different parts of England. And I just feel like I love to share that international perspective on what country music is and what it means, because I feel like at its most simplest, my show should be the answer to, hey, like, what's country music like in Australia? Or country music in the UK, what's that like? You know what I mean? And for someone like you, or for your, you know, readers or listeners, like that's an easy question to answer. But it's really nice to be able to share the answer to that question through stories and through introducing new artists and their new music. And yeah, man, it's been such a pleasure for me to dive into. And I thought it'd be me sharing sort of stories and music that I discovered, but it's actually wound up with me just discovering even more music than I knew existed. So it's been great for me as well as the people listening to it.
Well, I was chatting with Ben and Chrissy from the Shires last night, and they were saying how difficult it was at first to adjust to becoming hosts rather than performers. Is that something that you experienced? Because it is a very different skill to host a radio show than being on stage.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, it obviously comes naturally to you.
Oh, thank you.
I did a bit of TV stuff in Australia, like with the country music channel in Australia, which is like CMT, or I'm not sure what the equivalent for you guys would be. But, so I'd done that before, but the thing with TV is it was very much like it was live hosting at an event, or it was like interviewing someone, and there's always a film crew and like an audio person, and there's an element of performance to it. But with the radio show, again, because we're in quarantine, it's like literally me. I don't have the microphone here, but it's literally me with this microphone here by myself. You know, it's like I'll have somebody on Zoom, like my producer, or there's a guy named Brian who edits everything and makes it sound great. But and I'll just read a bit, and was that okay? You know, there's all that whole thing, which I guess is like the training wheels of doing a radio show. And so, yeah, through the first few episodes, I definitely gained a lot of respect for the art or the skill of creating radio. And I think, you know, like anything, the more you do it, the less you think about doing it, and the more you just try to be yourself. And I think every episode, I'm just trying to do that better. And hopefully, as you listen, hopefully they're getting better. Jeez, I'll let you guys be the judge.
Yeah. So for anyone who hasn't had a chance to actually check out one of the shows yet, give us a little bit of an overview of like the different segments of the show and what people can expect from it.
Yeah, well, again, having never done radio and having a 2-hour show to do, I was like, that sounds pretty stressful. So I put together every time. We should have a framework of stuff. And so one part of the show I really love is we kick it off, and it's just the 3 most streamed songs in a country. And like whether that's Germany, whether that's England one week, whether that's Texas. So we call Texas its own country here in countrywide radio land, or whether it's Canada, Australia, or South Africa. And we just go, and it's like, just by the numbers, what's the most streamed country songs there? And that's always super interesting. You know, sometimes like John Denver, Country Roads will pop up as like one of the most streamed songs that week. Or sometimes it'll be like a back catalog Taylor Swift song, or it'll be, you know, not the Florida Georgia Line song that you expect it to be. Or it's really interesting. And we have another section, which I think is probably the most unique to the show, which is called the World Stage section, which I don't know if I would have come up with this section had it not been for quarantine and not being able to travel, but we sort of just spotlight an artist, but not only the artist, where they're from, and sort of talk about that area of the world as if you were there, like walking down the street, or, you know, having coffee, looking out at the town square or something. And so that's been really fun too, to learn about different parts of the world. And I think in a lot of ways, like where you come from, sort of, it determines what your experience of music is, you know. And it's really interesting for me to sort of be introduced to an artist and then where they came from and sort of put them together and share it with people, you know.
Well, that's one of the beauties of the show. I mean, you've featured the likes of the Wolf Brothers and the McClyments on there, and obviously guys from back home.
Yeah.
And I know you've got a lot of pride in your roots and where you came from. So, how special is it for you to give these guys a platform internationally that they maybe wouldn't have had otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a pleasure. I've I can't remember who I was talking to. It was just one of my mates the other day, but there's like, and I'm sure you would have these songs as well, from you growing up, that are just like absolute classic songs that you grew up listening to. And so the guy that I'm thinking of right now for me is Paul Kelly. He's like the voice of Australia. The way I would describe him to an American is he's like the Bruce Springsteen of Australia. Like he's that revered. He's that like his Australian storytelling is just like second to none. And like I get to introduce him to other people on my show. Like it's just such a pleasure and an honor to be able to do that. And you know, at that level, and also with the newer artists, like you said, the McClyments and the Wolf Brothers, they have such unique perspectives in the terms of country music around the world. And they're also just great humans too.
Yeah.
And I enjoy hearing the Australian accent now and then too.
And you've had some amazing guests on as well. You mentioned Matt from Old Dominion before. He's been on Kip, you've had on the show, Cam as well, just to name a few. That must be really nice for you because I guess usually if you're really busy musicians, you don't get the time to kind of chill out and speak informally with these guys too much. So to get to hang out with them must have been quite fun for you.
Yeah, totally. Honestly, in quarantine, any sort of social interaction is a blur. But yeah, I think definitely that, and even more to that point, like again, like you and your listeners and readers, you notice, like you know who the artists are. Bother might be the wrong word, but who are passionate enough and who believe in global music enough to leave America and take the time to go and start again in places like London or Scotland or Ireland or Australia or New Zealand or Canada, whatever. And you know, I've seen all that firsthand. I've seen those artists like start again and build it up. And I've seen like the crowds and the fans in these places that I'm talking about, just the appreciation level is so high. And I think on my show, I really want to give credit to those kind of artists, the ones that have taken that sort of leap. And if you listen to episode 1, we talked to Kip and he talks about like what it's like tens and tens of thousands of dollars invested just to go there the first time. To lose
Man, he has been so committed. He has done more than most in the UK to build it from grassroots, and he's done it, man. He's playing big venues now.
Absolutely. And you know what? I feel like people in other parts of the world and here in America, they need to know that. Like he deserves credit for that. And I think every artist we've had on the show has that to some degree. And I have so much respect for that. And I know that the country music fans all around the world have so much respect for that. So it's really a pleasure to kind of put a spotlight on that too. And I don't know, there's just like an element of just like discovery about the whole show. And that's a big sort of perspective discovery that I think a lot of people are having as well.
Very cool. And moving on to your own music, because you mentioned that you've been doing lots of Zoom writing. So what can we expect from you in the near future? Have you got music that's kind of in the can that's ready to go, or what's happening with you?
Well, it's not so much in the can. We were in the studio on Tuesday last week, and so we tracked a few new songs, and I'm putting sort of the finishing touches on them next week. I can't tell you when they're going to come out. It would be a lie if I told you a date because it would probably change. But dude, I'm so excited. I mean, last year was one of those years that was, you know, there was just no intensity to put out music because it was like, well, what are we going to do with it and all that kind of thing. And at the same time, it was also a little bit just kind of crippling creatively, not being out there playing live. And so finally to get to this point where we've got these songs and we're getting a plan together to put them out, it's really exciting. And you know, I don't know, maybe there's some shows on the horizon. It's not up to me whether there is or not, but I know we've all got our fingers crossed over here in Nashville for sometime this year to play them live. But yeah, man, as soon as they're ready, you guys will be the first to hear them. So really excited.
Nice one, man. Well, Morgan, thank you so much for doing this today, man. Really appreciate your time as always, and we'll hopefully see you in the UK before too long because this is doing my head in now. I'm so done with COVID.
You're not alone, Dan. You're not alone.
Yeah, we'll hopefully see you soon, and yeah, best of luck with everything you're doing this year. When we hopefully get that new music soon,
Yeah,
best of luck with it, and yeah, we'll hopefully chat again soon, man.
I appreciate it, mate. Good on you.
All right, man. Thanks, Morgan. Speak to you soon.